the right meaning of the word circular economy. So we thought of starting our first webinar with the very basic fundamental concepts of circular economy, so that going onwards, when we hold some deeper and conceptual and application based discussions, our viewers, our participants could easily comprehend them. And now it's time to invite Violeta Wolfman to share a few words about eco-civilization.
Thank you very much. And it's great to see that from idea to action, there is such a short time possible where the right idea comes across. So hello, everyone. I'm very honored to be able to greet you at this first Eco-Civilization in Action seminar gathering, focusing on circular economy. And as it was said before, this will be the theme for the entire year. We'll be coming together under this umbrella and really share hands-on information. But allow me just to quickly share with you a few thoughts that you probably need to know to understand fully the vibrations that will be generated around this topic. And for that, let me use the presentation and show you a couple of key points that I'm inviting you to embrace, to take on board, and of course, allow your imagination to act within those frameworks, and of course, beyond, I hope. So first of all, Eco-Civilization is really a movement that started in March 2020, but its original idea goes all the way back to probably 2011, 12, or 13. But I'm sure that many others thought of it when thinking about the future, imagining the future. And why was this the perfect moment where really the thoughts and models started to materialize and started to then attract people from all over the world to come and join in defining, imagining, dreaming about the next civilizational paradigm, dreaming about the society that we want to live in. So the first most important question, which Ranji already mentioned also, that's going to be a focus of this discussion, is why? And a simple answer to that, because we humans want to continue to evolve and thrive. Of course, it's easy to be said, but how are we going to do it? And again, the trivial answer is that this time we will have to go inside. And I'm inviting you all to go deeply inside, inward, and start doing things that feel right. By connecting and doing things together. It's so simple, but on our quantum level, we always know what is the right thing to do. So in order to move on and create a society of the future that will be worth humanity, that's the act we are invited to do. And of course, first framework has been established, one clear mission, new destination called Eco-Civilization, but also two big hopes: that we put humanity at the core, that we keep technology only as a tool, and three major values: transparency, inclusion, and sustainability, and four major goals within which we now develop different areas where we now engage on a global scale. Earth as an ecozone of our galaxy, population of other planets, and relationship-based civilization, which will prompt also the understanding of new laws of physics. And five major entities, which are being, society, land, consciousness, and relationships. And it's much better to show the picture than to talk about this. This is the basic model around which now these discussions and this imagination of possible new civilizational paradigm are emerging. Asking everyone to just drop this functional top-down approach and think about the essence of life and what is really that we need to care for, what we need to pay attention to. And the first invitation is to really understand and to focus on the development of beings. including humans, animals, plants, and bacteria, viruses, blobs, whichever living form we can imagine on this planet Earth. And then by understanding that and evolving beings, of course, these beings connect together in different social structures. And the second focus is society and all the elements and properties of the society as a whole, and focusing on that we develop conditions that these societies can prosper on a sustainable level. Of course, we need a space where we actually physically exist, which is land. So the third focus is on the sustainable development of land and resources that it gives us. The fourth one is everything we've learned throughout different civilizational paradigms. So it's a consciousness, it's a knowledge, it's a global wisdom. And the fifth one are the relationships that bring all this together. So classical functions that we usually see as a top organizational structures like education, industry, technology, finance, all those are actually dynamic structures in the concept of eco-civilization that constantly readjust itself in order to ensure sustainable development of other entities. This is, in a nutshell, the core vision of eco-civilization and its framework within which we engage. In last year when we started, it was very dynamic. It went beyond all expectations. We had 10 eco-civilization talks on various topics, from health to technology to communities to the role of individuals, to circular economy, finance. So exuberating amount of really engaged people and excellent results that are now available all on the webpage of Ecocivilisation. We were invited to talk in over 32 conferences where we spread the concept and try to get the good feedbacks and get these loops going that we can engage and co-create in the future together. There is a webpage. We cooperate closely with our partners, among which is also Circular Business Academy, but also WAHWOMAN, which we are today. Ranji is with us and she is the director of that. You can follow us also on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. But what was missing last year was some concrete hands-on action. And that is where Ranji came and said, oh, look, I want to get engaged. I want to participate. Let's do something more concrete. I'd like to bring the real stories that co-create in the real world. They pave the way towards the eco-civilization. And that's how the idea of eco-civilization in action was created. And that's how we decided that the first topic will be circular economy. This is a very busy slide with a purpose, because right now we are still in pretty messy world. Lots of models, lots of concepts. But the fact is that circular economy is at the heart of our relationship model. And as you remember, maybe what I said before, that these relationships are constantly a dynamic structure, dynamic processes, dynamic models that are co-shaping sustainable development of the rest of the entities. We are in a search of all these tools and proper methods with the help of which we can actually move towards more sustainable environment. And a very important message is that circular economy will never be 100%. It will never cover 100%. So we will have to rethink also other elements in the society in order to see how, besides the growth, we can deliver sustainability. So, and this is something we will be challenging in the years to come within eco-civilization, within eco-civilization in action. And of course, focus on the core elements of circular economy, which are the two loops, technical and biological loop, and addressing all these elements of redesign, rethink, replan, reduce, recycle, reuse, repair, and who knows which one will come on board in the future as well. All that is very closely connected and fully supports the UN-defined global sustainability goals. where, of course, we bring all the efforts from all over the world together, and hopefully that will deliver what we are asking for, a sustainable planet that can hold us as a mother throughout generations. And here we are. I'm proud as a curator of Ecocivilisation that today is the kickoff of a new stream within Ecocivilisation tribe, which is called Ecocivilisation in Action, Circular Economy. And Ranji and Pinamaya, you know, I feel I'm excited like you are, and I know that this will be an important new track. And you picked excellent speakers for today from all over the world that will bring the real stories to our tables, and based on them, we will be able to engage even closer and be more active on our own, because the purpose of this is really to encourage everyone and show to everyone that we as individuals can make a difference. Thank you very much, Ranji. Back to you, and good luck today and the entire year.
Thank you so much, Violeta. And thank you so much for describing the idea and components of eco-civilization in such a simple way. And I hope all of us are able to see a broader picture and all components in integrity, including circular economy, because it makes that picture very, very clear that where the role of circular economy comes. So before we get started, let me call upon my co-host Pina Maya to just brief us about housekeeping rules. So Pina, just briefly tell us few rules.
Hello from my part as well. Yeah, like Rajni said, before we dive into the topic, I would just like to tell you some house rules. So this webinar is being recorded and is also live streaming on our Facebook, just to let you know. And also we would ask you to turn your cameras on, especially when the time for questions comes, so that we can, see each other, and not just names, but also our faces, and be more connected like that. And I would also like to ask you to be muted at all times, except for when you're asking the questions, so the presentation can go without any problems. Also, you are welcome, and we actually invite you to write questions in the comment section. I will be reading them, saving them, so that we don't miss anything. And like I said before, you're also more than welcome to ask the questions yourself after each presentation. And if in between you have any additional question and you want to address it to a certain speaker, please write in their name as well next to your question, so we know who the question is meant for. And if you have any other problems during this event, just please send me the message and we'll try to resolve them. So this is it from my part, and now back to Rajni, and let's begin.
Yeah, thank you, Pina. And now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our first speaker of today, Jordi Pascual, who is joining us from Netherlands. Jordi possesses sound experience in strategic consultancy field, including scaling up of circular economy business models and development of CSR plans. In his role at Circle Economy, he works together with cities to analyze their socio-economic system, scope their opportunities, and realize innovative, practical, and impactful circular economy strategies. So over to Jordi.
Thank you so much. I think you should be seeing my screen.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you for the introduction, Rajni, and thank you to Ecocivilisation and WAHWOMAN, so to Violeta, of course, Pina, Maya, and Rajni. So I'm very happy to be here today, and welcome everyone. So I believe Rajni already made a very good introduction of who I am. So my name is Jordi Pascual. Indeed, I work in the Netherlands, although I'm originally from Spain, from Barcelona, and this is where I am at the moment because of the pandemic, so being a bit closer to the family. And today we are going to speak about the circular economy. Probably many of you are familiar with the concept, perhaps others are not. But first, just a brief introduction of where I work when actually we are working on the transition towards a circular economy, because this is what I believe in. As Violeta very well put it, I believe our society really needs this transformation. And I try to do so at Circular Economy, which is an NGO based in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, that we are dedicated to the practical and scalable implementation of the circular economy. And we are an impact organization of about 50 people with more than 25 nationalities. Our mission is to deliver a practical and scalable circular solutions to the world, with the vision of contributing to a prosperous world of finite resources by accelerating the transition to a circular economy, which is the main topic of today. So I'm going to try to shed some light on the topic of the circular economy, because it's in the mouth of many of us and many politicians and businesses. However, sometimes it's difficult to really understand what is it actually about. So I'm going to just talk a bit about the challenge we all are facing. Then I'm going to try to shed some light about the concept of the circular economy, the theory behind it, the solution, and then also bring some examples that can really explain and put into practice what some of the elements of the circular economy actually mean in reality. So let's start with the challenge. The reality is that we extract over 100 billion tons of materials per year to meet the functional needs of the society. So in order to feed our housing, our lighting, for instance, or our food, we really need to extract over 100 billion tons of materials, of resources per year, which is huge. And this is really in line with the GDP growth that really started to grow together with the Industrial Revolution. So the material extraction has fueled economic growth since the Industrial Revolution. And you can really see in the graph how GDP really correlates with the extraction of natural resources. And this really entails many issues and challenges that our society is facing, as you might imagine. And examples of resources could be minerals, fossil fuels, construction minerals, biomass, any type of resources that we need in order to meet those societal needs. And this system that we're living is basically a linear economy, as you might know, which is based on taking, making, using, and wasting. And we call this approach, as I said, the linear economy. So we extract resources, turn them into products that end up as waste. And here you can see in this line a bit the process that our linear economy, our industrial economy actually follows, which is sourcing, extracting resources, refining, producing, selling with the retail sector, using them, and most of the times just incinerating and landfilling, which is losing the value of those resources. And this approach is increasingly challenging the natural limits of our global ecosystem, as it can be seen with the planetary boundaries that we are really, breaking the roof by really extracting all these resources, contributing to environmental challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, ecosystem degradation, etc., which again connects to the planetary boundaries that are being studied and were studied back 2009. And most visibly, it produces vast amounts of waste piling up in landfills, which really connects to the core element of the circular economy. And of course, also causes pollution of soils, air, and oceans. And then as a result, this linear economy really puts a lot of risks to our society, economy, and system overall, which is scarcity of raw materials. So by the extraction of those over 100 billion resources per year, we are really putting a lot of pressure to the raw materials available in our planet, increasing material costs, and obviously climate change, the climate, it starts being very unpredictable, as we can really see around us in Europe, Africa, Asia, and America. So that's all over the world. Then let's jump to the circular economy. How can the circular economy really help overcoming these challenges? What is it, the circular economy? That's the main question of today. So we have the linear economy, where all the resources are basically being wasted. Then we have the recycling economy, which really tries to capture some of the value of the resources, but still most of them end up into waste. So the recycling economy is not really fixing the system overall. But then we have the circular economy that, as Violeta was saying, it really connects to our core and the essence of nature, right? By really following the cycles of nature and trying to really avoid waste and mirror somehow how nature has been developing, evolving, and functioning throughout centuries of human history and our planet. So the circular economy is really avoiding any type of waste and really building an economy that relates to that idea of closing the loop. And I want to reflect on how the circular economy really connects and how can it transform the linear economy that I was mentioning. Because our economy currently makes, wastes, disposes, but then is missing the point of cycling back. So what there is here, what we can see in our system is that there is a link missing, which is the cycling, closing the loop. The circular economy really tries to close this cycle, and we call it the circularity gap. Okay, at Circular Economy, we produce every year the Circularity Gap report that really tries to capture how circular is our planet at the moment. And that's a question to you. How circular do you think we are today? I don't know if any of you would guess. So the percentage of circular economy, so how many materials get back into the system when they are being wasted. So if my phone just stops its life cycle, how many of them get back into the system to produce a new phone? It's a good question. So just 8.6% of our resources are being cycled back into the economy, which is really little. So there is a long way to go to really close the circularity gap. And with the new Green Deal, you can really see that the landscape, the legislative landscape and the policy landscape, it's changing as governments are increasingly adopting the circular economy in the new Green Deal and Circular Economy Action Plan are showing. And the European Union already forecasted that the circular economy could bring over 700,000 net increase of jobs by 2030. Reduced by 296 million tons by 2050, and create a total economic benefit by 2030 of 1.8 trillion euros, which is huge. So there is a lot of value and benefits to capture through the circular economy. And actually, what I also like to bring up is that there is a clear link between the circular economy and the climate change, because 1.5 degrees ecosystem planet is a circular economy, is a circular planet, is a circular society. And that has been shown that in order to limit our temperature to rise to 1.5 degrees, all the national commitments need to be complemented by a circular economy and other measures. Therefore, it's key to start transitioning towards a circular economy together with all the other policies focusing on carbon neutrality and climate mitigation. And then I also want to bring you my perspective of the solution of the circular economy, really the core of it. So as I put it before, this is the linear economy, right? That follows these very specific steps. And what the circular economy is trying to do, by what I was already saying before, is trying to maintain at the highest utility possible the value of those resources by closing those different loops. So in order of importance, from right to left. So the main priority is maintaining, repairing those products and resources in the use phase, then reusing in order to be again consumed or used by another customer, another company, another organization. Then it could be refurbished in order to be changed and repaired and refurbished in order to be sold again and back to the economy. And the last option would be recycling, that many times is put on top, but actually is kind of the last option that we normally have in a circular economy. So we are really trying to avoid landfilling and losing the value of the resources. And from circular economy, the way that we have defined with our research what the circular economy is based on the 7 key elements of the circular economy. You can see them in here. On the left side of the slide, you have the 3 core elements that we call, which are prioritizing regenerative resources, preserving and extending what's already made, and using waste as a resource. But the circular economy is not only about these 3 core elements. It's also about rethinking the business model. It's also about designing for the future. It's also about incorporating digital technology. And it's also, and most importantly, about collaboration to create joint value. Collaboration among different actors from different sectors along a value chain. You really need collaboration in order to really implement the circular economy and make a systemic transformation. And now to just quickly show you some examples of how these different elements actually are materialized in reality, I'm just going to bring up some examples, okay? Prioritizing regenerative resources, which mainly focuses on renewable energies, but not only to that, because I have a nice example, which is this beer, which is from the brewery De Pruil in Amsterdam, that collects rainwater to brew beer, and now in the last years also gin. So they make beer out of rainwater. So therefore they are using a renewable resource, in this case water, rainwater, in order to produce beer. Another example, in this case of using waste as a resource, this one is from Adidas, that I'm sure most of you know it. It's a multinational in sports apparel, and they make this model of shoes from recycled ocean waste. Therefore, they use waste in the oceans to produce these shoes, these sneakers. About repairing, preserving, and extending what's already made. That's a nice example from Sweden, which is called Retuna. That's the first world's recycling shopping mall that we have encountered. And now from that example, other reuse hubs in, for instance, Prague, but also in Norway are also following this example of a place, a shop, a mall of reused and recycled materials, where all citizens can go and really buy and exchange clothes, products, electronics, in order to really capture the value of those products. Rethinking the business model. That's the case of Bundles in the Netherlands, which instead of selling washing machines, what they are selling is a pay-per-use. So they retain the ownership of the washing machine. You can borrow it, you can use it at home, and you pay per use instead of owning the washing machine. So you just pay for what you use. Therefore, you really can extend the lifetime of these washing machines, because once you don't need it anymore, someone else can use it and pay per use. Paying per use is a new business model that the circular economy is really capturing the value of. Designing for the future. The case of Fairphone, based in the Netherlands, the first ethical and modular smartphone. So it's really modular. You can really swap any module of the phone. In case your camera is broken, you can just swap it for a new camera, so that you don't have to change or throw away your smartphone because your camera is not working anymore. So it really tries to make sure that you can use your phone for as long as possible. Incorporating digital technology, that's a very interesting example in the textiles industry, fashion industry, which is called the fiber sort, which is a machine which is able to detect and automatically sort different textiles based on their composition in order to what? Recycle, reuse textiles, which is one of the most biggest, and it's one of the biggest waste streams in Europe and the world. That actually is one of the sectors or products being prioritized by the European Union. And finally, one of the most important, collaboration. Collaboration is key among within a value chain, but also between different value chains. And in this case, Ford is developing bioplastic car components from tomato processing industry. Then you can see a connection between the byproducts of a value chain of a sector, in this case of tomato processing, with the car industry in order to produce bioplastics. So these synergies are key within the circular economy. So those were the examples. And I believe, just to close my intervention, I believe the COVID-19 pandemic has made more evident the flaws of our current linear economy. And I'm sure you all think that holds opportunities and threats alike. And I believe today we are presenting some of the opportunities, in this case, through the circular economy, in order to really make a just, inclusive transition towards the circular economy. And then I also wanted to close with saying that the change is happening. And it's up to us to decide whether to join the journey for transformation or not. So that was it from my side. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I was able to bring some inspiration and new ideas.
Superb, Jordi. I would say that thank you so much for such a comprehensive, detailed presentation. And I truly love the insight that you shared with us, be it example or the data or the percentages, which definitely helps us shifting our focus from subjective to objective, which is very imperative. Because if we know that we are just, it is just 8.6%, which is being recycled or which is brought into circular economies, then I think we definitely need to have serious concern about it. It's so less. Thank you so much, Jordi, once again. And Pina, if we have got any questions, can we take up any question in case if we have got any questions?
Not from the comments. So if anyone has any questions, please, now is the time to ask them. You can, raise your hand as well. And yeah, Mom already did. So please ask a question.
Yeah.
Jordi, thank you very much for excellent presentation and really hands-on examples of different phases of circular economy. So have you experienced anything by yourself, and how hard it is to change your life attitude to actually enter the circular economy mentality and mindset?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in the projects I work on, I basically work with cities and regions. So our clients are cities and regions, and as an NGO, we try to support them in the transition. And when you try to bring this systemic transformation into a city or a region, you can only make it if you bring all the different stakeholders together around the table in order to make the transformation. So you cannot make, let's say, Ljubljana more circular by only speaking to the municipality. You really need to speak to the municipality. You need to speak to the different departments within the municipality. So the procurement department, you need to speak to the environment department, the financial department, the logistics department, but also to the private sector, to the multinationals, SMEs, NGOs, also to the knowledge institutions. You need to speak to universities, to experts, and also to the civil society. And only by bringing all these stakeholders on board and aligning the different incentives and building synergies, you can really implement projects and solutions on a city level. And this is very challenging because the incentives and the different interests are very different. and misaligned. So that's one of the challenges that we normally encounter. However, once you have this alignment and once you have the right stakeholders on the table, the change just happens super fast. And that's actually extremely exciting to see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jordi. And after listening to this insightful presentation, it's time to move on to our second speaker, who is here to discuss more about fundamentals of circular economy. And she would be laying more emphasis on a recycling part. Her name is Slendy Diaz. She's joining us from Colombia. She's ambassador at Circular Economy Institute and a climate reality project leader as well. Slendy is a civil engineer by profession with broad experience in project management, circular business models, rubber recycling, designing of products with recycled content, tire recycling, development of educational campaigns to modify consumption habits in construction industry, and to improve waste sorting. So Slendy, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rajani. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this lovely invitation. First of all, I want to say something to Violeta about the question that you made. I worked for a company and we recycled rubble for construction and demolition waste. So that was pretty hard because we had to convince engineers, very expert people, to change the mindset, convince them why should they use recycled aggregates instead of natural aggregates. And I think is a very long way. It's not impossible, but it's a matter of patience, passion, and education. I think, and if we are going to talk about circular economy, we really have to talk about education, because circular economy is possible if we have circular citizens. If people really need, if people is able to understand that they have to change their consumption habits, that they have to rather sustainable products instead of traditional products. And this is very powerful message to the market. So yes, we need the policy makers and the governments, but we need the citizens to be part of the process, of the whole process. And this is a very powerful accelerator in the transition from linear to circular. So now I'm going to share my presentation. Hold a minute, wait a minute, please. You will see that Jordi and I have many things in common. Activist is the magazine, which I share contents on sustainability and circular economy. You are so very welcome to be part of the magazine anytime you want to share your articles. Circular economy, my own definition is that circular economy is a different way to do business, to design, to produce, and also to consume. Consumption is very important in a circular economy. The big difference between linear and circular economy is that linear economy bring materials and resources, transform it, but most of them end up in a landfill. And circular economy do everything as possible to avoid, eliminate waste, okay? Circular economies look always thinking in closed loops, how to close the cycle of each material, how to bring back the resources to the cycle or to the supply chain. Linear economy is not sustainable because we only have one planet and our planet have limited resources. So we must be efficient in the use of those natural resources we have. A study figured out that linear economy has been associating economic growth with natural resources consumption. That is how we have been working for years. But if we keep on having this trend, by the year 2050, we will have scarcity of resources because we are consuming in a higher speed than the planet is able to produce those resources. So circular economy is the most powerful tool to change that habit and to unlink resources consumption from economic growth. How can we do that? Let's see. This is the waterfall diagram of circular economy. I'm going to be brief on that, but we have two sides. The left side is the biological cycle. The right side is the technical cycle. So in the left side, we have renewable resources. So if you take water or plants, they are able to regenerate, and we can do business models that can be regenerative. But in the right side, we have finite materials. We have resources that once we take them, they are not going to be back anymore in the system. So we need to be really efficient with those resources and materials that we have. Once we take carbon, petroleum, minerals, they are not going back. So we shouldn't waste those very important materials and resources. As Jordi told us, the recycle is the last choice. Before recycle, we have to try, share, maintain, reuse, remanufacture, because if we don't, we are wasting money, materials, energy. And we have to minimize negative externalities. So we can make this transition through circular business models. For example, the washer we saw, the washer could be a service, not a product. And if the same company that produces the washer owns the machine, once it finishes its useful life, they will be able to recover the components, and they will be able to close the loop. Maintenance allows us to keep the products for longer in use. The business model with reuse and redistribute, for example, refill models help us to reduce the waste generation. And packaging is a very big problem for the environment because we don't really need the packaging. We need the content inside the packaging. So packaging could be reused or redistributed. In the case of the refurbishment, companies like Cummins offer that service. So an engine is being damaged, they are able to repair it and to bring it as new in that great conditions, and they are able to offer you once again warranty for that. So we are really extending the life of the products. And renting business models, for example, Banana Republic create those service so you can pay for a fee and you have access to all the clothes in the store. So you are able to choose what you want. If you want to buy something, of course we can, but you don't have to keep that many clothes standing on your closet all the year almost, because you are using sometimes very few times some garments. So when the same producer is the owner of the products, they will create more durable products. And in circular economy, that is what we really want. And the last one is to recycle. it's very important to say that circular economy is much more than recycle. Around the world, the most common recycling process is downcycling. When we do downcycling, we are breaking down the product and just to produce from them raw materials. So we are wasting energy and the value inside those products. So in circular economy, the favorite option is upcycling, because from some waste, we could even produce high couture or very different kind of products that could be attractive in the market. It's a matter of creativity. And we have to really change our mindset, because we don't need to buy everything we use. And when we do maintenance or refurbish, we are extending products lifespan. When we are talking about new business models, we are talking also about new opportunities or new jobs. And waste of a process can be raw material for another one. And this is called industrial symbiosis. Circular business models bring opportunities for everyone, because sometimes give the opportunity to strengthen relationships between the companies and the customers. It might reduce operation costs and also will improve competitiveness and the company's reputation. And it also helps us to reduce the risk of scarcity of resources, because when we have scarcity, the commodity prices go immediately high. When we move from linear to circular, we also will be able to introduce new products or services into the market. Circular economy models, business models, are possible through circular design. We need to circular design. We can't keep on business as usual, okay? So here we have a very good definition of this. Circular design introduces a way to create a product or a service which is functional, made of optimum and safe materials. So biodegradable materials, composable materials, non-pollutant materials, to deliver the best performance, because we don't need to sacrifice the quality while minimizing waste and decreasing its negative impact along the whole life cycle. Circular economy is always thinking in the whole life cycle of the product. So here we have vegan Hugo Boss shoes, so very high quality, excellent design, and the raw materials are leaves. To do that, we need a circular production. So we need materials with recycled content or biodegradable or compostable with no pollutant substances. Of course, we need to do it with efficient consumption of water and energy, or using renewable energies in order to create durable products. And it is very important, the transparency, because people need to know the compounds, the components of the product and where does it come from. Is it produced locally, or it is coming from very far away? Does it have fair production practices or no? So this is very important in a circular economy system. Sustainable consumption is required in order to make profitable circular business models. Every time we buy something, we are telling the market and we are sending a very powerful message. We are saying, I want you to keep doing this way. So please keep supporting sustainable and circular products and services. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Slendy, for this terrific presentation. And I totally agree with you. as you stated in your presentation, that we don't need to buy everything we use. It is really, really true. And I think this thought process, which is the first component of circular economy, rethinking, we definitely need to rethink on the way we live, the way we buy, the way we look at things. So thank you so much for highlighting this very phenomena. And uh, I have one question for all the participants. Uh, as I understand that so far the concept of circular economy must be very, very clear to them. Whereas I see that Harmeet is waiting very keenly for his turn. So I'll just take 2 minutes, Harmeet, and then I'll move on to you. And so I want to ask all participants what one word that comes to your mind as close as possible synonym to circular economy. One word that comes to your mind as closest possible synonym to circular economy. For instance, in my case, circular economy can be equal to life. What could be your synonym? Just mention in the chat box, and we would really appreciate your thinking, and we could see that's okay. Somebody has written something. Okay. So thank you so much, Slendy, once again. And if we, Pina, have we got any specific question, or shall we move on to Harmeet for our next presentation?
Yeah, no. I mean, we got one question on Facebook, but I think we will set it at the end because it's for all the speakers, and I think we can answer it at the end. But I think that Violeta has another question. Yeah.
Slendy, I was just curious. Thank you very much for yet another really, really useful hands-on perspective. But you are from civil engineering. Could you share something from your life experience? How is it in construction or civil engineering approach? Are the engineers picking up this circular economy concept already? Or is it still more for environmentalists and NGOs? How strongly is this concept present in the engineering profession?
Very good question. I am from Colombia. We are the second megadiverse country of the whole world. So sometimes it's hard for people to believe that natural resources could be finished. So sometimes it's pretty hard. People is willing to be part of the solution, but sometimes they don't know where to start. That is why I think education is very powerful. What I had to do to make possible though the change of mindset in the construction in the city where I live was through the education. And as a CEO, I had to design the product. Yes, 100% recycled content, but I had to make it cost exactly the same as the equal of the nature product, because people is willing to do that, but sometimes they are not willing to pay more. So that you have to be coherent. Okay, but make everything easy for the customer to make him move from linear to circular, but they are willing.
Okay. So now I want to call upon our third speaker, Harmeet Chawla, who is joining us from India, whose purpose to make a difference, help organization drive better future by aligning people, process, and technology. Harmeet Chawla is a co-founder of Free Flywheel Management with more than 35 years of experience in deploying large-scale enterprise-wide business processes, re-engineering, and HR transformation projects through technology-based solutions for clients across the globe. So over to Harmeet.
Thanks, Rashni. I think pretty much a common question these days. You can see the slides, right?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so much. I think the stage has really been set brilliantly by Violeta. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And of course, my previous co-speakers, we've had Jordi, we've had Slendy, who gave a brilliant sort of perspective on circular economy. So thank you so much for setting the stage. Probably it makes it easier for me now. I just wanted to share some numbers with you before I get started, to just sort of set the right understanding of what exactly is happening. So change is unavoidable, no doubt. I think all the examples that were brilliantly brought up, one thing is for sure, things are changing every day, and change is unavoidable. That's one. In the 20th century itself, we saw the highest rise of population from about 1.6 billion in 1900 to about 6 billion in 2000. And the rate at which we are going by 2050, we are expected to be about 9.9 billion from an existing population of about 7.8 billion, right? By 2030, there would be more people who would be middle class consumers rising above from the poverty state that they are in right now. And what that means is, with an increase of about 2 billion population from the current number wherever we are, that's the kind of pressure that's going to get added up to the limited resources that we have as far as our Mother Earth is concerned, right? That's certainly a huge concern. What that also means is by 2050, we would probably be required to consume 3 times more of the resources that are available to us. So that's quite alarming, given that all of us we've been hearing about over the last about an hour or so. What that means is, as human beings, right, we need to change the way we produce. We need to change the way we consume, and we need to change the way we live. That's very important. Now, what you see on my slide, essentially, is the 2 biggest concerns. I spoke to you about the population growth, and the other concern, obviously, that's coming around the population growth is the per capita consumption. And that's the change that needs to be driven across the globe, put together. And we are in it together. We are the ones who really need to make this happen, right? Now, what's happening currently? This is a picture from Mumbai, the city in India where I live. It's got a population a little over 1 crore, and a little bit about what's happening, more from an India perspective, and then I quickly give you some glimpse of what's happening in our city. So in India, about 62 million tons of solid waste is generated each year, of which only 12 million tons is treated. The rest goes as garbage. Essentially, it either flows into the river. So obviously, it's polluting the groundwater that's available to us. It's polluting the rivers or the water bodies that are around. And in some form or shape, it gets recycled into our food, whatever we are consuming, which is not good for us. By 2050, now this is really alarming for us, especially in India. And remember, I'm just talking about India. So at a global level, we all can understand where are we headed. At an India level, by 2050, we will be generating about 436 million tons of garbage. Again, untreated garbage that is available. Now, from a Mumbai perspective, each year we spend about 3,000 to 4,000 crores of rupees to transport the garbage from the various locations in our city to a common dump ground. So what you see here is a common dump ground, which stretches into kilometers. And I'm given to understand the height of this entire garbage pile is probably about 60 meters high, and which obviously is releasing all sorts of unwanted wastes, unwanted gases. There are at times fires, and there are people who are responsible for segregating the waste when it gets from different sources onto here, and then it obviously has its own perils and hazards associated with health for people. Now, this again is a concern. Now, out of this, about 9,400 tons of trash which is generated each day in Mumbai, only 3,000 ton is processed now, which again is a concern. So, and what you see in this picture is the abysmal state in which there are rag pickers, people who are sort of segregating the scrap, the kind of conditions that they're living in, and the kind of hazard that's exposing to their health, etc. So we heard enough about the linear economy, the take, make, and dispose, which I think worldwide most of us are following. But only about 20% of what we are consuming is getting recycled. Now, this is something which is again a phenomenon which is currently prevalent the world over. Now that's what is the guiding force for us. What is it that we can do to make sure that a large part of the consumption that we make can either be recycled or refurbished, or a couple of other things that our friends mentioned in their sort of discussion a couple of minutes ago. And from a circular economy perspective, again, the idea is to move away from a linear economy and make sure a large part of what we are making is used and also is returned back to us in some sort of a recycling getting done, and does not really end up creating a landfill. All right. And that's where I think is the opportunity. Now, from an India perspective, we are looking at about 13.6 billion of opportunity around waste management market. And that's what is triggering a lot of interest by some entrepreneurs. And I'll share a couple of insights from one particular company that's doing extremely well. Now, at a 13 billion kind of a waste management market or economy that we are speaking about, which is pegged at a growth of 7.17%, this is huge. And what it's actually leading is some entrepreneurs coming together and talking about sustainable waste, which is now getting converted into an organized industry, right? So this particular company that I wanted to talk about is called Sampoorn Earth. Now, Sampoorn in Hindi, which is the language which is spoken by the maximum people in India, Sampoorn is a complete. And what it means over here is a complete solution meant for Earth. That's what this translates into, Sampoorn Earth. All right. Now, what these guys have done is, instead of having a centralized location where we would have people dumping all their waste, and just like the picture I showed you earlier in my presentation, what they're trying to do is they're trying to centralize the way the garbage is being picked up. And they're trying to get it at, even before it is brought to one location, they want to go about a decentralized way of segregating the garbage into wet garbage and the dry garbage. And essentially the entire idea is to translate by this segregation of dry and wet garbage, install biogas plants. This is essentially to create gas which can be used for cooking, etc. And also translating the wet waste into gas or fertilizer, right? And as a result of which, whatever you see on this particular slide, the need for us to extract more or produce more, which leads into dumping as a part of linear economy and leads into gas emissions and polluting the ground level and everything. Here is a solution which is aimed at segregating the waste at source itself. And that's where there is a need for the mindset of the people to get changed. So earlier in the presentation, Slendy spoke about the need for the mindset of the people to change. I think that's what is the most important. Where the challenge for people in the city that where I live in was they're used to putting everything together. And the moment this organization started asking them to segregate, I think that's where was the first challenge. So it took a while for them to really propagate this theory, help people understand why was it important and why segregation at the source itself really helps. So obviously there were people who were thrown in, the workers who are deployed from this organization, which go and train people in each society how the segregation can be done by giving plastics of different colors for people to understand where is it that the wet waste needs to be discarded, and where is it that the dry waste needs to be discarded, right? And as a part of the solution, it was not just a segregation, they also started doing audits of various communities, various towns and cities. Now, this is more to generate awareness of what exactly is a town contributing to currently, and with these some of these solutions thrown in, how are they contributing to circular economy? So this audit bit also with all the data that's gotten generated has created a good amount of awareness, and the governments also are doing their bit apart from the citizen bit, throwing the weight to make this entire thing happen. So one of the things that I also wanted to speak from the housing society where I live in, and the various other housing societies that we have in the vicinity, is that once we segregate this waste, a large part of the wet waste is being brought together. So we have a machine right in our society itself where this waste rather is all brought in together. And we add some sort of a fungi to that. And over a cycle of about 28 days, I'm not really getting into the detail how this entire process works. But the good news is all of this waste over a period of 28 days gets converted into some sort of a fertilizer. And this fertilizer is now being used for the plants that we grow in our society to basically nurture them instead of artificial fertilizers. And over a period of time, with a lot of this fertilizer getting produced in the society, it's also getting sold to some of the organic farms around our city. So you can imagine the cascading kind of impact that it has if just one society is doing its bit rather, and slowly this catching up with all the various societies in the vicinity. So that's the one way by which wet waste is being used. When it comes to the dry waste, now interestingly, what has happened is every week we have there's a huge blue bag that has been provided to us by this company. And what is happening is we put our dry waste into those bags, and there is a QR code that is attached to that particular bag, which helps us map our respective flat to the amount of waste that is getting generated. So to incentivize us to begin with, we are being offered some sort of a money for the amount of garbage that together in those bags. And this weekly deposit of the dry waste is all getting accumulated across all the societies put together. And they do it to another part of the city where again segregation takes place. And a large part of this, which can be recycled, is retrieved from a recycling perspective. And there are scrap dealers or recycler dealers who are authorized, who are being then given a part of this recycled, accumulated products, and then they translate this into suitable products. So it could be some simple things like a carpet, or it could be sort of a tumbler instead of a plastic bottle. They are creating recycled tumblers made out of recycled waste. So these are the ways in which the dry waste is being put to use, right? Now, what is really making the difference is that there's a fundamental shift in which the waste is getting segregated. So instead of the centralized model, it's a decentralized model. That's one. And pretty much the way we have a consumer grade experience when we order for stuff at, let's say if you're ordering something at Amazon, or we are ordering for an Uber cab, everything is at our fingertips. So pretty much the same. Instead of the customer or the user required to throw this waste, this particular company is enabled that the waste gets collected at their doorstep with the only intervention required by the users where they need to segregate, right? So that's how they are sort of redesigning the way segregation is being done, bifurcation of this waste, etc. is being done. And it's all inclusive. So as I said, we have the scrap dealers, we have the waste pickers, all of them coming together as a community to solve for this particular problem. So I think this is very encouraging. And of course, with this decentralized approach, as I said, for waste segregation, etc., it's going to transform the way we are managing our waste in the future. And that's just one city that I'm speaking about. So I also came up with some quick examples just to sort of help understand what's also happening in some of the countries across the globe. Now, this is a very interesting example from apparel giant H&M, where they are encouraging people to not discard the jeans that they have purchased over a period of time, but to bring it back to them, which helps them recycle. And textile, as you know, is one of probably the second largest polluting industry, if I may put it that way. So it makes sure that instead of the jeans getting completely discarded or adding to the landfill, H&M itself has taken this initiative of recycling the jeans, and people apparently have taken quite a liking to this particular exercise. Now, some of the previous speakers spoke about the need for changing the mindset from being a user to being an owner, right? So once again, there is a company which is leasing out jeans. So the good news is you don't need to buy too many jeans. If you are fashion conscious, you have an opportunity to keep sort of leasing out the jeans, and every year keep renewing your membership and get the jeans at a very affordable rate. So this again is a brilliant example of a mindset change from being an owner to being just a user, right? Jordi already spoke about the Fairphone example, so I would not repeat this once again, but I found this to be a terrific example where you don't need to discard your phone. A large part of it or the components can be retrieved for you to give the next high-end model. And what's changing over here is, again, instead of being just a consumer or a user, one can lease out these phones from these manufacturing companies. And then as and when there is a need for them to upgrade themselves, they can simply go back, exchange the mobile and get the latest model, which also gives the company to sort of retrieve most of the valuable products that they have in the phone. So again, a brilliant example of circular economy. Jordi spoke about utilizing rainwater, and I'm giving you yet another example of how beer is being created out of unused bread. So this particular company, which operates in Europe, is making use of, as I said, unused bread and converting that into beer. So it's a win-win for everybody. This was an interesting example for me. How some companies, so this comes from Belgium. This example comes from Belgium. So how the unused coffee ground or the unused coffee seeds, once they have extracted the liquor from the coffee beans, are being utilized for farming mushrooms. So they have created a grow kit sort of a component where they collect all these unused coffee seeds from across the town and then bring them all together, and then with some amount of fungi which is added to the coffee seeds. This is being passed on to users who want to create a mushroom of their own. So in about 4 weeks time, you can grow these mushrooms on your home turf itself, right? So that's how instead of the coffee seeds getting wasted, it's bringing back some sort of a product back into the household, which is edible and which can be used by everybody. Found this a brilliant example again. The last of the examples, again, this comes from Australia. Now, this company is turning carpets into the bike. So you see this toddler riding a bike, which was a very interesting example for me. So apparently, this company called Wishbone is once people have discarded their used carpets, instead of again creating a landmine out of it, this company retrieves all the important things that can be sort of recycled, and then by using those, they are turning them into bikes for the toddlers. So again, a brilliant example. So I think the message is loud and clear. As I said, there is a need for us to change the way we are producing, change the way we are consuming, and change the way we are living. If we don't do that, and if we end up just being consumers, and with the rise in the population that we have, I shared some magic numbers with you at the beginning of my session, it's not going to be easy. So the only way out is to make sure we become conscious consumers and 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 contribute as a community to the well-being of Mother Earth. So that's it from my end. I would be open to questions.
Excellent presentation. And thank you so much. I cherished some of your unheard examples that you shared with us and your practical perspective about waste management vis-a-vis, the conceptual framework of circular economy. It is certainly alarming to see how unwanted waste or trash is being thrown, especially in metro cities like Mumbai, and how hazardous it could become in the long run if not taken care of. I would request all participants to write questions for Harmeet. If they have got any specific question for any specific speaker, please mention so that we could address those questions, or in case you want to clarify some of the fundamental concepts, because this is a session all about fundamental concepts of circular economy. So here it is an opportunity for you to clarify your doubt in case you have. And in the meantime, I would like to turn to Pina to know the reaction of participants on my question about the word, the synonym word that came to their head when they heard of this term, circular economy. Pina, can we hear some?
Yeah, so the words that came into my mind to people were perpetuum mobile, humanity, collaboration, abundance, and hope. And I think those are all really nice words that sum up and connect with circular economy really nicely.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. And
so,
yeah, while we are waiting for, if any other questions come into your mind, we did get another question on Facebook Live, like as I mentioned before, and it's how would you comment financing of circular economy? And I think this question could be, addressed to all our speakers. I think I'm inviting you now to maybe share with us some thoughts about financing the circular economy and project related with that.
So yeah, so I guess this question is for all speakers. If Slendy or Harmeet or Jordi, anybody wants to address.
Okay, the question is interesting because when we want to be part of a circular business,
I'll take a shot at I think the question, how can we finance circular economy? Is that what the question is?
Sorry, I didn't hear you well. Well,
Rashni, is that what the question is?
Yeah, the question is how would you comment financing of circular economy? I think that Slendy also already started to answer it. So maybe she can go first, and then you can comment on that as well.
Okay, finance the circular economy is necessary because sometimes when we are trying to create products with recycled content, we don't have the incentives that other products already have. Sometimes new technologies are required, so it needs huge investments, and is the other component that requires the transition from linear to circular. And sometimes the finance is not accessible to all the companies. Startups sometimes offer very clever solutions, and they need to finance their startups in order to grow, to make them stronger, more competitive. So it is really necessary, and right now it's not very clear. Specifically in my country, there are some benefits, but not enough to create a huge movement entrepreneur around the circular economy.
Maybe I can just add a little comment to that, because financing is probably one of the biggest challenges, because the financial institutions by definition are conservative institutions. So it's really kind of a challenge to bring them on board with something new, especially if it is reshaping their evaluation systems, their governance models, their criteria based on which they decide on what they're going to invest in. So my experience from the European Union, European Commission side is that it has to be done in a very systemic way, in a close cooperation with financial institutions, banks, private and institutional investors, in order to build the safe place within which you can prove that there is enough stable project promoters and projects being proposed for this kind of financing. And of course that they understand where and how they have to evaluate in order to make the right estimates. But lately, a lot of important announcements have been made. So, and I hope that not only in Europe, so maybe Slendy, if they're not present in Latin America or if they're not present in India, maybe you could stimulate them, because European Investment Bank already declared last year that they're going to be a green bank only by 2030. So they're walking now the path. If you look their announcements, you see that every time they're announcing a new innovative financial tool, it's green, it's bio, and it's very much directed into this common agenda of climate neutrality by 2050. So the same you can see, for example, in the bank here in Slovenia, our biggest national bank, Ljubljanska banka. They have announced that they will stop any investment that doesn't have a green sustainable content. So these are very encouraging things, but they need sort of a pipeline of reliable or strong projects, a strong pipeline within which they can see that this is a future that they can invest, because as I said at the beginning, they are conservative in a perspective.
So I think, Harmeet, you have got a question from Violeta. Harmeet, you can unmute.
Sorry, I missed that, Rajni. Sorry, I had some connectivity issues. I just sorted it out. Tell me. Okay, so there's a question for you from Violeta. Okay. And so the example of waste management that you presented is a huge task. How hard is to close the loop using the waste as raw material? It's not easy, Violeta. It's not easy, and the biggest, I think, hurdle that at least we have been seeing. I'm not even speaking from the company, which is the waste management company that is trying to help us out. The biggest hurdle is the mindset of the people. So it took us quite a while, as I said, to really get people to segregate waste to begin with at their home premises. That's the first step. And I think despite all the trainings and despite helping people understand how does it really help, and here we are talking about the educated masses living in the societies. So you can imagine the kind of challenge that it has when you take it to the masses, right? Where still the segregation probably is a long way. So I think to me, that's the biggest hurdle that people need to cross. And that's where probably this company has come up with some sort of an incentive where using this QR code, they are helping you understand how much are you contributing to the waste. And with all the background that they have provided in terms of how the waste is getting converted into recyclable material and how is it really going to help the environment. Through this incentive, probably they're also creating a know-how for the people to really reduce the waste generation and be able to contribute their bit to the environment and the world at large. So to me, I think it's a challenge, but with a lot of awareness coming in and some young people were turning into entrepreneurs, making use of technology, I'm sure a lot of people would really jump onto this bandwagon and help us get into the right direction that we want to be in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harmeet. And I'm sure by now the core concept of circular economy, its role in our life, its impact on us must be clear to our viewers and participants. And we all understand that we need not to be great inventors, big entrepreneurs, designers, manufacturers to get involved into this movement and contribute from our behalf. And each one of us consciously can contribute immensely towards this just by being mindful, by just following some simple ways that we can apply in our day-to-day life. So thank you so much. It's been great to be speaking with all of you today. Thank you so much for making such insightful presentation. And Violeta, would you like to state anything?
Well, thank you very much, Ranji, and congratulations. This is the first in the series of Ecocivilisation in Action on circular economy. It was a great foundation, and I hope this will continue to excite people and bring them on board to that we jointly can make a change. That's the purpose, really. But I'd like to use this opportunity now and just bring your attention to a few more things that are happening. Already in the introduction, I told you about additional initiatives that are going on within the Ecocivilisation movement. And one of the really exciting was that at the end of last year, we, together with friends from Africa, we launched a very important new movement as well, which is called Year of Ubuntu. And I see Cheney, which is one of the co-founders of this movement. She is with us here today. So I wonder, Cheney, if you can come on board and just tell us about the event that is coming up in January.
Hello, everyone. I'm really sorry I can't put my video on. My bandwidth is very low. We have no electricity out here.
You're calling from Zimbabwe, right?
I am all the way in Zimbabwe, all the way in Marondera. So we live out in the farms. So this circular economy discussion was very intriguing to me because we live on the farm and we've been trying to figure out how, my husband has been trying to figure out how to do circular farming, etc. So this was quite intriguing. Thank you so much for the presentations. I think they're a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to have to sit back again and listen so that I can completely grasp all the information that has been shared. I'm very excited to be on this journey where, you know, everything is a learning opportunity. But as you talk about the circular economy, you imagine everything is intertwined and interrelated. And to Violeta's introduction about the Year of Ubuntu, for me, sincerely, the Year of Ubuntu is about reimagining how we could all work together for the greater good to improve efficiencies where, you know, you live in a world where there's so much efficiency that there's surplus for everyone. And I believe that that is actually a reality that can happen. It's not a utopia, it's not a dream, it's not a fallacy. Because when you imagine the surplus that some people have as individuals, and you think if we lived in a world where I am only because we are, then you would be able to share that surplus. And this dialogue on circular economy, Ubuntu, would actually be meaningful in this world that we're imagining. So I really am excited to be on a journey. And I keep saying it's a journey because with every interaction, with every voice, with every learning, you open up your mind to imagining that this can actually become a reality. I can be only because you are. So I hope on the 31st of January, you can all join us. On the 31st of January, we have educators coming onto the platform. It's open to everyone, but we imagined starting with people in the education field to start imagining how are we teaching Ubuntu, the theory, the concepts, the philosophies, how are we teaching about Ubuntu? And most importantly, how can we bring Ubuntu to the people? Because at a higher level where we can congregate, we have to understand and appreciate that the people on the ground might not have access. So the question and the issue that we are trying to interrogate is squarely on how might we bring Ubuntu to the people. So that would be the idea of the 31st, and I hope you can join us. I'm sorry for being so long-winded, but brevity is not the solo word here. So thank you so much and have a lovely day. And thank you so much, Violeta, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jenny. Great. And Ubuntu is an old African wisdom, as Jenny said, that it's very simple in its explanation, but very deep and very long lasting in the achievement, which means I am because you are. And it's a wonderful message for all of us. So we will continue to practice and develop tools that help us to actually live this philosophy. But before I let you go, I just want to share one more thing, is that on February 18th, and this will be part of Ecocivilisation Talks, which is, as I said, futuristic imagination of new civilizational paradigm. This time we're going to go very deep, dive very deep into the roots. How do we know that the civilizational paradigm is happening? How do we observe it? And actually what it takes that we can claim that something is a civilizational paradigm. So this is my teaser to you. So I hope to see you as well on the 18th of February. Thank you very much, Ranji, and back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Violeta. It's been a great event, great webinar. So as we move towards wrapping up, and thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And don't forget to join our next webinar on circular economy, which is scheduled on February 8th, same time. And thanks again for joining us today. And we will see you next time. And let me end it on a great quote by Confucius, who said, "I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand." So thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day. Or good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to meet you. And you are doing a great job. Nice to meet you, Violeta and Rajani and all of you.
Thank you so much, Slendy. Likewise.
I am because you are. Love the message.
Certainly. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Harmeet. Thank you, Slendy. Thank you all participants. Yeah. Thank you, Violeta. Thank you, Pina. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harmeet.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks.